Hello, everyone. You've got Luke Rowan again here from the EdApp sales team. Got another great webinar for you today. Thank you for joining. As we said earlier, we've got obviously some fantastic customers and new people to the platform here in the USA. We're also joined obviously by our European team as well, which is fantastic. Great to have everyone involved. I've got the team standing by on the chat, ready to answer any of your questions as we go through. So feel free to drop us a note. We're actually joined by a guest host today, Carl Husa from Improvement Sciences. Have I got you on the line there, Carl?
Yep, and I remembered to unmute this time, Luke, so I'm good.
We're getting better every time, Carl.
Yes, we are.
So Carl's actually joining us from Arizona. Carl was sharing earlier this week that interesting at the moment in the US, we're battling a few bushfires near you, are we not, Carl?
Yeah, we had about a 2,000-acre fire about 3 miles away from us, and luckily the crews knocked it down quickly. So we're in good shape.
Oh, that's great to hear. It's great to hear. So today is all about payment gateways and how to really extend your offering if to introduce a payment gateway to monetize courseware. Carl is with us today because the agency that Carl belongs to, Improvement Sciences, have put together a fantastic case study that we can speak to on this regard, and the organisation that they've delivered it for is called Dignity Health Global Education, who are affiliated to a very large health organization here in the US, Dignity Health. So those of you in the US market, I'm sure that you would know this organization. So in order to show you the inner workings of a payment gateway and how you can approach it yourself, we're going to talk you through a fantastic case study here that will really set it up nicely, I believe. Then we're going to talk about just quickly how you can execute this for your own coursewares on EdApp. And the guys at Improvement Sciences have really got the integration down to a T, so they can help you on that front if you're interested. And then finally, we're just going to talk about a little bit of a preview into some new features for the editable content library, which I'm sure anyone that's just in the market of promoting their organization will see a lot of benefit in. So kicking off today, I mentioned that Carl is here to help out with the delivery of the webinar. Carl, I think we hosted our first webinar together about 2 or 3 months ago, perhaps.
I think so. Yep.
That was fantastic, and obviously Improvement Sciences is all about micro-learning for the health space, and you guys have delivered some exceptional programs on the platform, which is super interesting. To give everyone a bit of background as to the origins of the business and where you guys deliver educational programs, if you could just talk us through a few points here in terms of the focal point of learners.
Sure. Thanks, Luke. We have, between Mike, my partner, and I, we have about 60 years or so of healthcare experience. So we're very comfortable moving in the space. We've developed EdApp-based mobile-first microlearning for a pharmaceutical company, specifically focused on disease awareness of specific illnesses, so that end users in long-term care facilities, for example, can recognize the kinds and symptoms of epileptic seizures. For healthcare providers, we're particularly concerned, especially now with the recent COVID chaos, about resiliency in the frontline workforce. Quality improvement, we had a quality improvement course that was hosted on Canvas, and we're now taking that and moving that entirely to EdApp. We're really excited about that. And then CMEs, continuing medical education, is a constant challenge because healthcare workers have so little time, and they're required in most jurisdictions to maintain continuing education. And then we're particularly interested in caregivers, what are called direct caregivers or direct care workers, like certified nursing assistants. Yeah, I mean, you saw my picture. I'm going to be the consumer of certified nursing assistants pretty soon. So, so one of the things we're concerned about is how can we have effective, nimble training for workers who are trying to better themselves by becoming certified nursing assistants.
Got it. I love that bit of future thinking there, Carl. Making sure that healthcare workers of the future are better at their jobs. That's
well, I was going to say I'm not as dumb as I look, but unfortunately, I'm not so sure about that.
Very good. So to kick off, as I mentioned, we're here today to talk about this case study with Dignity Health Global Education. This is a fantastic program and one that is very timely, targeted at giving education to medical workers. So if you could set this up for us, Carl, and talk through, firstly, quickly, who Dignity Health Global Education are and what they aim to do with this project.
Yep. The Dignity Health Global Education is an independent provider of health education across the world. I worked with both of their directors of learning science, of the learning experience, and they recognized that there was a significant amount of chaos and stress in the frontline workforce, and they wanted to give back with a program that would help them to increase their resiliency. They were working with the University of Exeter already, and there were a couple of folks there who had some interest in contributing their studies. So we all got together and kicked off this project.
Excellent, excellent. And when putting it together, what were the key considerations that you beared in mind?
Yeah. The one thing that we were, the primary thing that we were focused on was that frontline healthcare workers needed help now. So there was a recognition that there was an exigency to develop this content quickly. We saw it more as a PSA, a public service announcement, more than as a formal course. We also recognized that the target audience was just overwhelmed with COVID, and we needed to make sure that their content was available on a format that could meet their needs and their time available. We wanted to give back to the community. Dignity Health Global Education was great about this. They charged $10 for the course, but then any profits went to charitable organizations, particularly those that helped nurses. And then, as I said, I worked with the two folks at Dignity Health Global Education. They can bend the canvas in magnificent ways. But to their credit, I think they recognized that they needed a nimble approach where we could stand up training very, very quickly, and you'll find out shortly how soon that was, that complemented their Canvas offerings.
Brilliant. And on that front, so Canvas is their broader LMS that they use for most of their traditional training. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Fantastic. We often hear that question about EdApp because it is obviously micro-learning. It is a newer proposition, and whether our existing customers use EdApp as a standalone to replace their LMS or whether it's an add-on. And to answer that question, we see a mix of both. In this case, it's a really agile add-on to traditional learning elements and very complementary. But we also see organizations going down the path of just micro-learning if that's kind of suitable to their business operations. So very interesting stuff there. And just a quick note on the way that this program was monetized. obviously a lot of people on this call were hoping to join today to talk about how they can actually put a price tag to their courseware and obviously for the purposes of commercials. Whereas this particular project was all about donating back to organizations in the field of medical. So although the actual outcome and use of the funds is a little bit different of a use case, what we're going to show you today is how you can actually set up the steps to do that. So I just want to make that clear for everyone. So here's a quick slide, Carl, on just what were the benefits for the healthcare workers who are involved with the program.
Sure. We recognize that healthcare workers are incredibly resilient. I've been privileged to know a number of healthcare professionals, particularly physicians and surgeons, and these are the kinds of folks that can MacGyver their way through anything. But COVID is extraordinary, and we wanted to help them maintain and build their resiliency. Mark Wilson, who we'll talk about shortly, was one of the contributors, the subject matter experts, and he's an expert on sports psychology, and he saw an opportunity to take the lessons of sports psychology and move it to the healthcare space to help them increase their mental toughness. We wanted to make sure that healthcare workers took care of themselves, that they ate right, that they knew that when they ate and what they ate had a bearing on how they felt and also on how they slept. And also we wanted to make sure that there were some takeaways in the form of downloadable resources, tools, and worksheets.
Excellent. And here we've got a slide on the contributors from University of Exeter. So how did you work with these guys to produce the material?
Yeah, okay. So Dr. Wilson is an expert on performance psychology in the sports space. And he had a particular interest in how one might take the lessons of high performing athletes and transfer that to high performing healthcare workers. And Dr. Torquati, she's a nutritionist who got her PhD in Australia, and she is particularly interested in how workers can help balance and maintain their energy through nutrition and good nutritional habits.
Excellent, excellent. And on an accreditation front, this material is actually valuable to the persons who have gone through it on a accreditation level as well. Is that correct?
Yes, in most jurisdictions in the United States, both nurses and physicians are required as part of their licensure to have a certain amount of continuing education, and for physicians, to maintain their license, and for physicians, they're counted by continuing medical education units. And for nurses, their CEUs or continuing education units, and as an indirect way of contributing, we wanted to make sure that actually Dignity Health Global Education wanted to make sure that this was accredited for anybody who took it as well. So there's the direct benefit of helping their resilience and their health, and then there's an indirect benefit in that it's contributing towards their medical education requirements.
Okay, great. So now that we've set the stage for what the program is and the contributors, we'd like to just take everyone through a very broad overview of the structure of the content. We would have as many new people on the call that don't know that much about EdApp at this stage. So we're going to unpack the course that was delivered and talk about the lessons and the content that was put together. So Carl, if you can help me explain here, we're obviously looking at the EdApp authoring experience, and we've got the course here. So we've got all of the various lessons that comprise of this course. So how did this come together? Obviously, we've got a nice introductory lesson here. But tell me about psyching up, this first component.
Right. So there are two major components to the course. One is psyching up, and this was primarily Dr. Wilson's content. And the idea here was to help healthcare providers understand that they have a reservoir of mental toughness, and that there are practical, relatively straightforward exercises that they can do to both increase their immediate need for mental toughness and also to maintain the mental capacity that they're required to tap into. Excellent.
And this third component here, fueling up for shift work, what was this about?
Yeah, so shift work is just a disaster. It messes with every biological clock that we have. We're diurnal creatures, and shift work just raises chaos with that. So Dr. Lorquati specifically looked at how you can eat better according to the shift that you're on, to make sure that you both optimize your nutrition and also maintain your energy level for that particular shift, and to help you move into more restful, more meaningful sleep. And that's the next one. The next module is keeping up with shift work. So the idea here is how do you change your behavior in a way that both leads to better nutrition and also to better sleep.
Excellent, excellent. I might have to take these courses for next week's webinar, so I'm a little bit more on the ball. So, and then we've got a final module on resources, which is quite good. I'll jump into one of these individual lessons and show the content really in action here. So what I'm doing for anyone new is just accessing our authoring tool. Right now, you've got on screen the experience where you would actually bring together the material. And on the left-hand side, we've got a nice preview of the learner experience. In the center is where you're actually building out the content using our editor here, populating with text and imagery. And we can see a few templates at work here. And then on the right-hand side is the structure of the lesson itself. So within this lesson, Carl, I believe there's a few really nice interactive templates. This is the one that I'm looking for to really tell a story. So if you can tell us about why this template was selected potentially in this use case.
Yeah, we love image maps. We think this is one of the spectacular interactions that are available on EdApp. The challenge with limited screen real estate is how do you provide both a big picture and a drill down, and image map provides that you can see that this pie chart has regions that are clickable, and when you click on a particular region, it pops open a drill down into that region, and you can see that there's a different image that's available, and then we provide a bulleted list that fleshes out that particular section of the image map. So you get both the you get both the high level view in the image map in the beginning, and then you get the hierarchical pieces that are available to be drilled down to, and under each one of those you get the enumeration of attributes that are applicable to that particular region. This is just a really cool interaction. We love this one.
That's awesome, and I can see here that you guys have gone the extra mile to include some customization to the text to make certain elements bold and a little bit larger. So for everyone that's new, this text essentially without this formatting just comes in a smaller, concise block. But it's great to see that you guys have gone about adding that extra touch of detail to really emphasize the points here.
Yeah. We like the fact that Markdown is the preferred formatting tags for content, and then also how much we like CSS. So we'll talk about that too.
Brilliant. Yeah, let's jump into that right now. So what I'm going to do is bring up the branding components for the course itself. So the branding can either sit on the course level or it can sit under individual lessons. And we can see here that the branding applied to this course, it looks like you've obviously had to consider the branding elements of both Dignity Health Global Education and EdApp
Yes.
to deliver on this front. So what
Yeah.
have we done here?
Yeah. I think one of the cool capabilities, and I'm a reformed geek, so I can say cool. One of the cool features of EdApp is the ability to manipulate CSS at both the course level and then at the individual lesson level. We're working with one client now that has 7 major sections, and each one of those have lessons that are branded differently from lessons in the other sections, and we're doing that through custom CSS.
Got it. Got it. And here in the custom CSS, just to explain this very quickly, we're controlling things like button coloration, fonts. Was there anything in here that was particularly challenging, Carl, or is it just a matter of getting to know the functions and delivering it?
Yeah, one of the things, and I'll say now what I normally say at the end. You saw from my picture that I'm an old fart, right? And I been working with companies for a long time. EdApp is the most responsive company that I've ever worked with. They have a CSS style sheet, and when we want to do something out of the ordinary or weird, and we reach out to EdApp, we've gotten answers to our CSS questions within 5 minutes in some cases. So this is a very, very conformable platform. You can pretty much make it do what you want to do. You can even embed, for example, we discovered during the lesson building, you can embed a GIF as a background image. I'm not sure it's a good practice, but it was a cool discovery.
Fantastic. That's really brilliant to hear. Not my particular department, but I'm sure our guys in customer success would be very pleased to hear that, Carl. So we're going to leave the demo there. I'll jump back into the presentation and let's talk about the payment gateway, because that's why a lot of us are here today. So what we've done with this particular program is Improvement Sciences and Dignity Health have leveraged EdApp's API in combination with the Stripe payment gateway to deliver their own kind of e-commerce portal outside of EdApp. And what we can see here on screen is a step-by-step of the user interaction from viewing the course landing page right through to accessing the platform. What's really fantastic with this deployment is that each of these steps is automated. In no point along the flow does an admin have to get involved and provide information to the learner. We've set up each of the points to flow off one another. So talking through each of the steps, I'll step through these, and then Carl, you can speak to the technical aspects of it. So the first step is the landing page. And obviously, we all have our own websites where we can promote courseware. The content and the structure of those web pages is entirely up to you guys. Obviously, this will happen in your own environment where you can talk about the benefits of the course and the contents of it to really sell what the learner is accessing. Then in step 2, we've got the payment form that again still sits on your website where you're performing the transaction. And as I mentioned, in this case, Dignity Health Global Education have chosen to use the payment provider Stripe, but really any payment provider that is secure is available or will work to integrate with the EdApp API to set this up. The third step there after payment is taken and successful is the function where EdApp will deliver an email with the username in the form of an email and a temporary password for the learner to log in and access the courseware. The fourth step there is to download the platform. You can see within the email a few embedded links to access the iOS and Android apps. If you have an audience that require the material on a laptop device or another device, then you can certainly include our responsive web experience that will work in any browser, which is web.edapp.com. But in this case, for Dignity Health, they're driving people to download the app, given the target audience. And then finally there, step 5, the app is on your phone, and then you can go ahead and use those temporary credentials to log in and even change that password once the learner has logged in. So here we've got a summary of what's happening in the background. So Carl, if you could walk through how you guys put together the mechanics of this payment gateway.
Sure. This is a high-level view, and it only talks about the happy path. It doesn't talk about how we might capture some things that might happen along the way. The user selects the purchase course on the order page. We collect information like the email and the payment methods, such as a credit card number. That information, particularly the credit card number in the email, is sent to some kind of a payment provider, Stripe or PayPal, whoever has a robust API, and virtually they all do. We wait to see if the payment's successful. If it is, we then display a thank you, and we set up an email. On the payment processing side, there's a script that runs after the payment is successful. We create a strong random password for the user. We invoke the EdApp API to post a new user object that includes the username, the generated password, and a correct user group ID, which corresponds to the course. Then if the user is successfully added to Ed, we invoke the Salesforce API, which is the CRM that Dignity Health Global Education uses. We add or update the user information there, and then we send an email to the user using, again, whatever provider has an API. It could be the EdApp API, it could be Gmail, it could be Salesforce. In this case, it was Salesforce, and we send the user the information about how to log on, how to download the app, the stuff that Luke showed you.
Excellent, thank you for that explanation. So as a way forward, any of you that have an enterprise account with EdApp can access the EdApp API. And if you have developed a resource that is savvy with payment gateways, you can set this up yourself. In a second, we're going to talk about some services that Improvement Sciences offer to deliver this integration if anyone is looking to engage an external party to do this. But all of this configuration via our API is available. So we'll come to that in a second. So just to wrap up the conversation about this particular case study, let's talk about the launch timeline. I felt that this was particularly interesting, and hopefully you guys have recovered from the speedy effort to get that. Particularly here, 1 week to produce 16 lessons. How did you guys deliver that?
Lots of caffeine. We anticipated that it was going to be a sustained death march to get this done. Time was of the essence, and both of the subject matter experts were dealing with their own chaos that had arisen from COVID and changing the way that they taught classes. So we had a kickoff, and on the launch was 3 weeks after that. But because of the chaos for the SMEs, we only had 1 week of production time to do 16 lessons. And we didn't have enough time to train the subject matter experts on our preferred templatized, structured approach to getting content. So we got content in Word documents, a long infographic, PDFs, PowerPoints, emails. There was one email chain that was, I think, 18 messages long, and each one of those had a set of changes in them. So it was exciting, but because Ed is such a nimble platform, it was relatively straightforward to go in and update the information, and then push that out immediately to the SMEs for their review. The SMEs fell in love with the platform. They embraced the technology. They understood. Unfortunately, they understood how nimble it was, and they kept giving us new content because they had these great ideas. And we actually had substantial new content given to us on the morning of launch, and we were still able to get that built into the course.
That's brilliant. That's really great to hear. Not for you guys, obviously, but
Oh, it was great fun. It was great fun. Yeah.
I'm sure everyone that's tuned in, you know, we all have production requirements and demands put on us, and just to hear that EdApp can answer and give you that flexibility to be able to produce content quickly and make changes on the fly. And I often hear, talking to many different industries, the requirements to deliver content updates really quickly, whether it be in a highly regulated industry where regulation might change, and it's paramount to deliver communication very rapidly. Or if it's an organization that deal with rapid product updates, delivering and localizing content in a rapid way is often a really firm requirement. So it's great to hear that you guys had success in doing that. Just a quick question here. Obviously, you mentioned that the team at Exeter were new to the platform. What was the point during the briefing process where you were able to convey the format of EdApp and really start getting information in the ideal format, or are you still working toward that point?
Yeah, we have a templatized approach that we like using storyboards. We have two flavors of storyboard. There's a Google Sheet based. It's essentially a form that we have SMEs fill out. We've used that very successfully with one client to the point where they've gotten really good at it, and we can stand up a lesson now in about an hour and a half if we get the content in that storyboard. The other version that we're working on now is we're working on a wireframe approach to storyboarding, so that the SMEs get accustomed to, these are the number of words that will realistically fit on a screen, and we should be launching that within the next couple of months.
That's excellent insight there. And just finally, talking about the learner feedback, obviously we're still very early on in this program, and the information that we're capturing is rather sensitive, so we can't share too much. But I did notice that there are certain survey questions that you've used, like the example shown on screen, in terms of whether a learner would endorse the program to their fellow healthcare workers. Overall, looking at the analytics, are you finding that the medium is it being effective for this audience?
Yeah. There are two distinct categories of responses. One is on the content, and one is on the delivery channel or method, and both of them have been extraordinarily high. Folks have both been satisfied with the content, and particularly satisfied with the delivery channel, the fact that the learning meets them where they live on their schedule.
Excellent. I think that we often talk about the fact that mobile education is really powerful for audiences that aren't behind a desk, that have limited time, that don't have the opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to pause my job for 30 minutes and run through some training. But it's really great to see such a practical use case of EdApp being powerful in this manner, and for a very good cause as well, obviously. So we've got a slide here that just explains two of the features that you guys leverage for this program. And often these features don't really get much of the limelight. Often they're superseded by other features that we have, like gamification and brain boost, really the shiny features. But I was interested to see that you used both offline mode and the briefcase. So why was offline mode valuable here?
One of the challenges in large hospital facilities is sometimes, particularly in older buildings or in certain sections of the building, the superstructure, the metal around the occupancy space can interfere with cell phone signals, and we did not want to have an opportunity missed where somebody wanted to learn and didn't have a chance to learn.
Got it.
So offline mode enabled folks to do that. Of course, we're not talking about somebody taking a lesson in the ICU. I mean, that would not be a particularly good idea. But for other times, in an elevator, for example, sometimes when you're going between floors,
yeah,
if you can jump on and take a 5-minute lesson, perfect.
That's great. That's great to hear. And the briefcase, why was that important?
Yeah, so the briefcase is a cool capability that EdApp has of at a course level to store materials, documents that can be used throughout the entire course. So we had a couple of things here. One is we had this dynamite infographic that Dr. Turcotti provided. We wanted to make sure that that was included. There was an academic article, that was Dr. Wilson's article. The second one, there were a couple of worksheets that people could use that they could download and either keep at their workstation or home on the fridge. And then there was this mental toughness index that asked them questions about the perceptions of their own mental toughness. We didn't want to collect data for a couple of reasons. One, we wanted to make the learner comfortable that we wouldn't be. Secondly, we didn't want to violate any privacy laws like HIPAA in the United States. And because this was also going to be released to Europe, we were concerned about GDPR in the EU.
Got it. Got it. Excellent. So that concludes all of the information about the case study. As I mentioned earlier, any of you on the webinar are able to set up a payment gateway, just like the guys at Improvement Sciences have done for Dignity Health Global Education. But we also wanted to put the call out on this particular webinar to mention that the team at Improvement Sciences also do offer services to facilitate this integration, and at a very achievable price point as well, which I think is fantastic. So if you guys would like to get in touch at all with the Improvement Sciences, there's a few contact options at the bottom there. So shoot them an email at info@, or you can just head to their website and learn a little bit more about what they do. Certainly the execution for Dignity Health is really seamless, and anyone who's interested to have a play around with that and even access the courseware, you can do so and contribute some funds to a great organization if you wanted to have a look at that. So as I said, if anyone's interested to talk about integration of a payment gateway, reach out to Carl and his team, and they'll have a conversation about how to execute it. So to wrap things up, we're going to talk about a few other components of EdApp. On our webinar last week, we introduced the fact that we have a Slack authoring community, of which Carl and his team are quite involved, which is fantastic. Obviously, you guys have a very extensive knowledge of our platform at this point. So thank you for sharing your insights with our community and Carl, and also providing insights when organizations are talking about integration or building courseware. So we have components of that community where organizations can actually go in and even post a job for consultancies and freelancers who would know our platform really well. And we wanted to provide this because we know that there are some very skilled authors out there that really deliver fantastic programs on our platform. And for any of you that are part of an organization that have immediate goals and want to deliver programs, but potentially don't have the resource internally to put together 16 lessons in 1 week, Carl and his team participate in that community along with many others, as I said, and can help out on that front. So the team are just going to post a link to join that community in the chat right now for anyone that would like to have a look at what's going on there. Also, I wanted to mention a preview of a new feature that we're delivering for our editable content library, which will happen this month. And what it is an author bio for courseware that's contributed to our library. Those of you that were on previous webinars and know the platform well would know that our library is a place where you can contribute content that is available to our entire audience and available to learners for free that sign up to EdApp. This is a fantastic way to not only deliver courseware as part of our UNITAR program, which is actually content being received by learners in developing nations, as well as other local organizations that can benefit from the courseware. But on this, secondly, a great way to create some visibility for your organization as well. And the author bio is only going to add to that. As you can see in this example on screen, the ability to drop in a little bit about your organization, a website link, links to your social media, etc., to really give any organization that sees your courseware and wants to get in touch an easy option to be able to reach out, which is great. So anyone that's new to the platform can access a free trial. Just head to edapp.com and you'll see a little form on the homepage to enter your email, and you can kick off a free 30-day trial. Under that trial, you can access all of the functionality, including the various components that we've spoken about today. So feel free to dive in if you're new to the platform and give us a test drive. We're very confident that and proud of the fact that you can go into EdApp without committing any funds to give it a once over and understand whether it's appropriate for your organization or industry. So if you're new, head to our website and feel free to sign up. So wrapping things up, it was obviously brilliant to talk about the use case today. Carl, thank you for joining us. I think that the program is fantastic, to say the least. I mean, right now, frontline health workers are, everyone's saying it, but I certainly agree that they are kind of the heroes at the moment. They're looking after all of us. And the fact that you guys have put together a campaign that is contributing funds and really valuable education is awesome.